Well, good morning, everyone. I am ready to do some more cooking with Gigi. So at this time, I am planning to make some homemade vanilla pudding. This is for a friend's mom. She said she'd like some vanilla pudding. So I'm going to work on that, and I'm here at the stove. First of all, I wanted to say I did play some pickleball this morning. You know, I love doing that. That was first thing this morning, about 8:30, I did arrive, and we had a great group of people. It was a lot of fun. I felt real good about my abilities today. I am wearing my new apron that Miss Melissa purchased for me for my birthday. Of course, it's red. It's kind of got candy cane hearts on here. Thank you, Melissa. It really works out well having this for my cooking show. Okay, so I had to make like a makeshift double boiler. You know, I don't know that I've ever had a double boiler, but this recipe calls for one. And I just thought, okay, I've always just done this and I've never purchased one. And I've seen other people do that, where I put a little water in a small skillet and I'm putting my other small pan inside of that. And so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add certain ingredients. We're gonna have about 2.5 cups of milk. So here's 2 cups of milk going in. And here's my 1/2 cup. Okay. And I'm gonna make sure you're seeing this really well. Move up a little bit closer. And after that, we're going to put in 1/2 cup of sugar, just regular granulated sugar. Put that in the milk. Get my spoon that was my mom's. It's the best spoon for making anything. Then we need to add, for thickening, we're going to go ahead and put in the cornstarch. That's 1/4 cup of cornstarch. That's the thickening agent. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 1/4 teaspoon. We're going to start there. We're going to turn on the stove for the double boiler to get water to get hot. And this is one of those things that you're going to want to stir it pretty much the whole time you're making it. So I'm going to get my cornstarch all mixed into my milk. Some of that's on my wooden spoon. So anyway, yeah, you can make your pudding with instant pudding, or you can make it with that kind you buy that you cook. But Gigi just doesn't do it that way. I like to make everything from scratch. Here goes my oven. I'm gonna have myself a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich before I leave out again today. That's gonna be my lunch. So I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna stir and stir until it starts to thicken up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to also be needing 3 egg yolks, which I do have here. I have 3 egg yolks. Nope, the whites are not in there. I'm gonna mix that up a little bit. You don't put your egg yolks in until later. And you know, it's probably not a bad idea to let them kind of come to room temperature a little bit anyway. Okay. So we're going to add the egg yolks when it thickens a little bit, but you just want to add a little bit of your hot pudding liquid to the egg yolks to kind of temper it down a little bit. So when we get to that point, that's what I'll do. And then we will be adding, we're going to cook it a little bit longer and let it get really thick. And then we'll add the last 2 things, which is the vanilla and just a teaspoon of unsalted butter. So it's really a pretty simple recipe. So you have your 1/2 cup of sugar, 2.5 cups of whole milk, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 3 egg yolks, 1 tablespoon unsalted butter, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So that's all you have to add. And you just need to be strong enough to stand here and stir it for a while. Might have it a little too high. I might want to go down just a little bit more to medium, just letting it get a little bit hot. Now, since we're in the double boiler, that does help it not to stick, hopefully, a little bit. So I'm not going to bore you and let you sit here and watch me stir this. I'll come back when we're getting to the next step. Hey everyone, I'm just sort of checking in, letting you see how it's coming along. It's starting to not quite thicken, but the water is boiling underneath it. So I'm staying with it and I'm stirring it really good so that it, you know, it's not going to stick to my pot. You know, when I was growing up, one of the desserts my mom would make a lot, we would have big Sunday dinners, even through after I first got married and had the grandkids. She would still do that for us, which she worked in a factory. She worked at National Homes and she built schoolhouses. My mom was a carpenter, but she was a good cook. And there was 5 of us kids, so that's why she had to cook. You know, you can't. Years ago, we didn't eat out like people do now. And so she would make banana pudding, homemade banana pudding. And I think she made the pudding homemade. She used vanilla wafers. She would layer her, she would put down the cookies, then some sliced bananas, then the pudding, and she would do several layers in a big bowl, okay? And so anyway, then on the top she would put a meringue and she would bake that vanilla pudding in the oven. You know, I've never been big on vanilla pudding, but I would eat it and it was good. So, but that's a memory that I have from growing up. And then I remember my dad, he was big into making this homemade candy. He just called it candy. And he'd put it out on one of those oval platters, he'd butter it. And it was kind of like a fudge, but it wasn't exactly fudge. And he would boil it until there was a little ball. He would take a cold glass of water and put a streamer of that chocolate candy in that bowl of water. And once it would make a ball, if it would make a ball, then he'd say it's ready to go. And that was his thing that he did. And it was good. He'd put on that buttered platter and we'd all come in and take big chunks of that. It was really good. You know, I don't know that I ever got that recipe. I'm pretty sure I don't have it. And I can't remember him making it in the latter years, but at home he would make that. It's such a good memory. So it is getting a little thick, as you might be able to tell. It is getting a little thick. So I'm going to stir it just a little bit longer, and then I'm going to put a little bit of that into my egg yolks, so I can kind of, I don't want to put the egg yolks in there and cook them, if you know what I'm saying. So I'll put a little bit of this in here as it's gotten a little bit thicker. I need a spoon for that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that now while you're watching me. I'm going to put a little bit of that over into this bowl. It says just to put a little bit to kind of get it used to the temperature. And then I'm gonna stir it really good. So I've got that pudding in there. I'm trying not to cook the egg yolks. So that's why I'm getting them used. Trying to get the egg yolks used to the heat of the pudding. Stirring it in there. Okay, so I think that we're probably safe to start putting that into the pudding. It's getting thicker. All right, here we go with the egg yolk into the pudding. You can probably see that pretty good, I hope. Okay, and I would mix it pretty quickly. Get that in there. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep stirring it till it gets nice and thick. And I like my wooden spoon in this pan because I don't want to scratch my pan, so it works really well not to ruin my new pans. I have been enjoying using them. And as this is getting thicker, then I am going to add I'm going to take it off the heat once it gets to the consistency that I like. And I will add my vanilla and my 1 teaspoon of unsalted butter. But that's looking pretty good, like a vanilla pudding would look. It's kind of got that little light yellow color, and it is getting thick. I'm excited to see how that does taste. I'm going to have to take a little taste. She'll get the rest of it, but I'll take a bite. Now, if I was making me pudding, it would more than likely be a chocolate pudding. I'm going to check my bacon. It looks like my timer has gone off for my bacon. Let's see how it's doing. Oh, it's not quite ready, so we'll set that for about another 5 minutes. I don't want to burn my lunch. Oh boy, that's getting really thick. Can you see that, how it's thickened up? Oh yeah. Let's get it stirred real good before we take it off the heat. Stirred really good. See, it really didn't take that long. I'd say that's about perfect. So I'm turning that heat off, and I'm gonna go ahead and just take it out of that water. Set it back down here on the stove so it's off the heat. Make sure it's nicely stirred up. And now I'm gonna add my butter and let that's gonna make it really silky, that butter will. It'll be yummy. And then I need this 1 teaspoon of my vanilla. You know, vanilla always goes in sweet things, and it's really tastes good. Stir that up really good, the butter and the vanilla in there. Here we go. Just keep stirring until it's stirred up very well, looking silky and smooth. Oh boy, that is looking pretty yummy. Make sure you can see that. Looking really good. Yummy vanilla pudding. Definitely nice and thick. So easy. That was so easy, wasn't it? And you know, things made from scratch, you know they're gonna taste better. I'm gonna take a little out. I'm gonna let it cool just a little bit so I don't burn my mouth, and I'll be back. Okay everyone, well, I've just finished making the pudding and I'm gonna taste it, but I thought since I just made my bacon, I would show you how I make my bacon. I like to put it in the oven. It's just less messy because you're at the top of your oven, you get splatters of bacon everywhere. I like the way your bacon, when you put it in the oven, it stays so flat. See, it doesn't curl up. I know I could probably put it on a rack and maybe that would be better, but I usually just put some foil down, and I buy those little sheets. They're single sheets. They're really cheap. You get them at the dollar store. I put that on there, and I bake my bacon at about 375 for about 20 to 25 minutes. This took a little longer because it was thick bacon. Well, anyway, I'm gonna have my bacon a little bit, and I will put that bacon on some paper towel to drain the grease off of it. Okay, so here we are. I am going to try this vanilla pudding. It turned out very silky, smooth and creamy. Look at that. I might have to try that banana pudding someday, make it for somebody, just so I can do something my mom did as a memory. Now, if this was cold pudding, I'd probably put a shot of some whipped cream on top, but I just want to taste the full pudding flavor right now. Wow. Wow, wow. If you like pudding, that is an easy recipe, and you could use it for different types of desserts too. You know how you get like a punch bowl and you add pudding in there with maybe brownies or just something like maybe vanilla cookies and some kind of a candy. This would be a delicious pudding to use. I'm in love with this. I hope my lady likes it. So thank you again for tuning in with Cooking with Gigi, and we'll have more recipes to come. Have a wonderful day.